and what it's all about. And so everybody, welcome to the session. Yes. Yeah, so let me start with a small introduction on Liberty Sparks. And essentially, so welcome to Liberty Sparks. And Liberty Sparks is a free market think tank where we emphasize on public policies such as in individual freedom. We also focus on attributes of the rule of law, free markets, particularly doing a lot of work and programs on international trade. Property rights, again, which defines, really the ownership of property. For example, if we are talking of assets, maybe what can you be able to do with your assets, and why is it not permissible for any other person, such as the government, to take your property? And then we also deal with issues to do with open government, which is all about having transparency, integrity, and all of that from the side of the government. So yeah, so we are a policy and education free markets think tank, and we focus on trying to solve economic, political, and social problems that we have within our society. And our vision is to promote and improve individual understanding of economic, social, and economic and political liberty. Essentially, it's what we are all about is freedom, and all of that stems from the policies that we have maybe in our countries, and when it comes to the organizational bodies that we have, as maybe internationally, community, ECOWAS, and such. So those are the things we deal with as an organization, and I'm sure that we are going to learn more about Liberty Sparks and what we do as we go on. So let me begin by apologizing to everyone. I know we had a lot of delay. My presentation link was acting up, was giving us a lot of challenges, and finally we were able to get it through. Actually, this is the first time we are having a challenge with our link at such a critical time. So before I introduce you into the Galibbo project and what it's all about, let me first introduce our partners, organizations that we are partnering on this particular project. The whole series, or rather the whole adventures of Jonathan Galibbo animated series, and actually even the book itself, we have gotten that courtesy of the Liberty International Organization, which is an organization that essentially does similar things to what I have told you about Liberty Sparks. But most importantly is that they were able to transition this book from being from just a book into an animated series, and I hope that you guys have been able to look at some of the episodes that we have. They are available freely on YouTube. And then we have Atlas Network, another a major facilitator of this project, and the Economic Students Association of Kenya. Which really we've been working a lot in bringing on board students that are aligned with economics, students that are studying various courses, in various areas that touch on economics, be it on business, be it on trade, accounting, issues to do with tax, and so on. So those are our partners that we've been we who have joined to make this project a success. So as an organization, what are our goals? Our goal number one is to advocate for reform, and this is the whole issue when I talked about policy changes in advancing human flourishing and dignity. So what we essentially try to do is that, for example, if we engage in research projects, we cannot leave it at that. So we have to make sure that now we are engaging the relevant institutions, for example, policymakers in the nation or in parliament and so on, to make sure that we have some of these policy being implemented. And I believe that I have touched on research and recommendations. So that's what we do. For example, if there is an issue on, let's say, tax, for instance, we feel that maybe citizens are being taxed a lot. The question for us is always, can we be able to do some research, come up with tangible evidence as to what happens, or rather what the outcomes are, and then recommend whether it would be better if we lower taxes and such things. The third goal, remember I said that we are an education think tank. And what that means is that we also like to enhance understanding of liberty, and we are trying to educate the public on economic, social, and political liberty through outreach. For example, what we are doing right now is part of our work in enhancing and understanding, creating understanding of some of the things that we deal with. For example, what we are dealing with right now is on policy, or rather, it's on economic freedom. Other times we are dealing with issues, for example, to do with land rights. Other times we are also dealing with issues to do with property rights and such things, trying to engage and generally just the public to understand different aspects of economic, social, and political liberty through outreach and community engagement programs such as this one. Right. Yeah. Now let us now get to the Jonathan Galibbo project and what is going on with this project, or what's going to be happening for the next 4 months. And what we have seen with this animated series, that Ken School and the team are taking a whole chapters of a book addressing particular issues, maybe things like taxation, for example, and they are packaging it into just 11, 15 minutes of a video, that you can be able to watch and deduce what is being projected on particular economic themes. And that's why we are saying that stories tend to teach economics best. So this program is a storytelling driven program which has been inspired by the Adventures of Jonathan Galibbo, which is a book written by Ken Schooland. We are hoping that Ken Schooland will be joining us for one of these sessions. And the aim is to introduce African students to economic freedom, governance, and policy issues through the animated episodes. And of course, we are going to be having discussions. And for the 8 sessions, the ones that are particularly based on this book, we are going to be having experts, individuals coming on board to take us through. Of course, we are going to be having other sessions on things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We are going to be looking at property rights. We are going to have discussions on international trade and things like that. So that is what those are some of the programs that we expect, and generally just ideas that we expect to be introduced into throughout this program. And ultimately, we want to create a Pan-African community of young voices for liberty, young voices for freedom. So we don't want it just to end here. So the question for us is, can we, at the end of this, can we have a transition into creating a community, creating a young group of a rather group of young people who are able to think in terms of enhancing economic freedom in whatever fields, in whatever areas of study, areas of work that we want to transition to into the future. And of course, we want to be speaking for liberty. We're going to be having sessions on training individuals on writing op-eds, and op-eds are really just policy focused articles. Policy articles that we see, and we are also going to look into generally the writing of news articles, the writing of policy briefs, and of research papers. So we are going to be bringing on board a team with expertise on these particular fields, and we expect that you guys will be, besides getting the knowledge on economic freedom, we expect that you guys will develop some skills when it comes to analyzing policies on economics and writing on the same, communicating on the same, reporting in the same, and so on. And of course, we have our platforms. We have a network of like-minded organizations across Africa, where we are sure that we can always get a space for some of the best articles that we are going to have getting published. Yeah, so essentially why we are here, I'm trying to rush because we had quite a delay, and we wasted about 30 minutes of our time. So that's why I'm trying to go through it a bit quickly so we don't keep you for long. So we are going, number one, to explore freedom, governance, and prosperity issues through stories. So what we're going to do is we're going to be, during our sessions, the first 15 minutes or so will be for watching our the animated series. Like, we are doing an episode every week. So we watch that particular episode, and then there's going to be a presentation on the key issues that are talked about within that episode, be it property rights, issues to do with taxation, international trade, and every other aspect that comes out of that. And then through our discussions, through our writing, we hope to at least enhance critical thinking around trade, economics, diplomatic issues, because you are going to be looking a lot at international trade. So we expect a lot of trade, economics, and diplomacy issues to come about from our discussions. And essentially, this program is for Africans, young Africans. And yeah, so we want, at the end of the day, to be able to prepare a good number of you, those who are going to be willing to go through all through with the training, particularly on writing and on policy policy aspects. We want you to be able to engage in policy and leadership spaces for any issues within our communities across the continent, within our countries, across borders, and such on. So yeah, so this program has attracted about 280 students and about 15 countries across Africa, mostly in East Africa and West Africa are represented. And we've had universities, or rather students, signing up from about 65 universities across the continent. So this is particularly when it comes to recruitment of the students. This is one of our most successful projects that we've ever done. So what can you expect from this program? Number one, we expect to have 8 sessions, 8 animated series. So the Adventures of Jonathan Galibbo book has been reduced into 8 animated episodes. And these are the episodes that we are going to be mainly having sessions on. I'm expecting that we're going to be having, beginning next week, we're going to be having a session for in every week. And this is where we are going to discuss themes on trade, on freedom, on governance, and such. And of course, these are sessions we are going to be having experts coming on board. These are economists. These are leaders, particularly on think tanks, on law, on journalism, reporting, and communications. And of course, some of them happen to be authors drawn across from Africa. I hope that you've seen our speaker lineup, which was shared earlier today. We have guys from Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and so on. So we are going to have a whole team of experts coming on board. And of course, I've talked about the skills that we expect you guys to develop on op-ed writing, storytelling, and communications. And then we are expecting a lot of engagement, discussions, and having reflections and interactive question and answer sessions throughout the program. Yes. So how, as we go on, how best can you make the most out of this program? So this program, we have tried as much as possible to spread the program over 4 months, because what we want to do is at least we want to have about just a session every week to maximize the number of people's availability, to make sure that we don't interfere a lot with your schedules, with your programs, and so on. So although in some weeks, and particularly later in November and December, we might be having more than one session within a week, although these additional sessions now, they are going now to be the ones dedicated for the skills training bit of it, away from just the animated animated series. So I hope that is that particular bit is clear. So what you can do is just to be present and you be engaged during the sessions. We expect you also to ask questions and to share your thoughts. And of course, we're going to be having small tasks. We don't want to burden you guys with a lot of academic work, because we already have such work. But we are going to try as much as possible to have fun tasks, ways of reflecting and, just gauging our knowledge, the extent to which we are going to understand the lessons that are going to be given to us. Of course, for those guys who will prefer to go into policy issues, to go, for example, in the writing of policy briefs, for example, the writing of op-eds or opinion editorials, you might be expected to do a lot more in terms of tasks, because at the end of the day, you have to practice, you have to be assessed so that you can fine-tune your skills and be able to get to a point where really you can be published into our own platforms and maybe other external platforms that we have access to. And of course, we expect you guys to network with peers, with your friends. You guys are already in a WhatsApp group. You are in a community. I know in a community you cannot be able to send messages, but within our communities there's a WhatsApp group there. So please make sure that you take advantage of it. Make sure that you connect with, you discuss issues, you connect with your other like-minded individuals within the platforms. But please, let's not begin to go into people's DMs and all that. That would be really uncalled for. Let's endeavor to maintain our privacy. And such guidelines. Otherwise, within the group, let's feel free to interact. Let's feel free to ask people where they are from, what they study, what attracted them to be part of the program, what they hope to gain, what they've learned from our sessions, and all of that. Yeah, so try to be open-minded, accept to be challenged, and accept to learn. That is one critical thing that I would urge you to do through the program. I know most of us, either we are university students or we have gone through the university systems, and we have what we have learned, we have our own principles, we have our own understanding of issues. But would it be so hard, or bad if we kept an open mind and, just be open to be taught, be open to learning new things, be open to discovering new ways of doing the very things that we are used to do on a daily basis. Yeah, so just be open-minded. Just be ready to be challenged and essentially to learn. And I hope that we can also be able to learn something from you as we go on with our program. Yes. Now, why does this program matter? Why is it so important for us, and particularly the African people? Why is it so critical that we need to begin to understand economic freedom issues? Myself, I went to the university, studied economics for 4 years, but the transition for most of us in the university, irrespective of the field in which you are, the transition from the theoretical bit of classroom work into the real world. For example, let me use the example of an economist. If you are an economist transitioning from that theoretical bit of what you know, for example, on something like taxation, right? Most of our education systems, most of our university curricula and all that tend to have that disconnect between what is taught in the classroom and what actually happens in the real world, in the institutions, within the governments, the public sector, within corporate world, within the private sectors, and so on. So the question then arises: well, how can the African youth be drivers of change when there is that particular disconnect? And much of that is what you are going to be trying to do by connecting the theoretical knowledge that I am 100% sure that you guys have, and then trying to bring on board practical issues that are affecting our African countries at the moment. For example, let's talk of something like cross-border trade. We have our East African community, we have our ECOWAS, we have our SADC, and so on. So can we be able to bridge the knowledge that we have on international trade with the practical work on protocols and such things that actually happens within these entities. Can we be able to improve our understanding of free trade and what it means, economic freedom and what it means? Can we be able to create more open societies for us as individuals to live in peace, to create wealth, essentially to create prosperity for us all? Can we be able to create an environment where we are able to understand why it should be important for me as a Kenyan to go beyond borders and do my business in South Africa, do my business in North Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa, and so on. So this program is just not about learning. It's all about shaping our future. It's all about trying to build that connection between the classroom theoretical work and the work that we expect to be doing within the corporate world and the public service sector, particularly on policies and how the policies that we have tend to affect our economic freedom, how they tend to affect our prosperity as individuals. So that is why this program is particularly very important. And as you're going to see, you are going to be looking at issues to do with cross-border trade. We are going to be looking at entities that are facilitating trade. We are looking at why it's difficult for we Africans to trade with each other. For example, why is it so difficult for Nigeria to trade openly and efficiently with Ghana and so on? And what can we do about it? When it comes to individual countries, when are policies probably on taxation good, and when are they bad? On other issues like how do we deal with policies that affect things like food shortage, ownership of property? I mean, at what point does it become necessary for someone else to decide that I should grow, let's say, maize on my farm as opposed to mangoes or beans and such things? So those are some of the critical issues that we are going to be trying to bridge as much as possible throughout this program as you study. And of course, don't forget that we are going to have another aspect that is going to be looking on how best we can communicate these ideas. Now that at the end of this program, you've been equipped with these ideas. For example, you begin to have a better understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement, which is a similar thing to what we have in the European Union, or what we call the European Union as a trading bloc. Now that you understand that it exists and what it's supposed to do, the question now is, are you able to go beyond that? And when there's an issue on our borders, when we are not able to do trade with each other as countries, now, are you able to analyze what the policy challenges are, or what the human resource challenges are, and such issues, and communicate them to the audience, either to the public, to the business people, to the government legislators, and so on, people that are supposed to be bettering the policies? Or are you even able to write and communicate to those entities themselves? Let's say, for example, we are talking about ECOWAS. Let's say we are talking about the East African Community, the SADC, and so on. So are you able to communicate these particular ideas that you have acquired effectively to such audiences? And that is one thing that we're going to be emphasizing on a lot, because we just don't want you to get this knowledge alone. We want them to be, for you to be able to communicate it, for you to be able to argue out issues, to point out challenges that are existing in the real world this time around, not just the theoretical bit of it. And we hope that we'll be doing a lot of work in trying to shape the future that we have. So besides being part of the 8 sessions that we are planning to have, we hope that some of you will be willing to take the training on writing of op-eds, the writing of policy briefs and so on, because we also have experts lined up to do that. We are going to be sharing the program for that a little later, as we bring them on board to train those of you who are going to be open and willing to acquire that extra skill, to be able to apply some of the knowledge that you are going to learn from this session. Yeah, so, but before I conclude on my presentation today, let me present our team. Of course, my name is Moki. I know today we have started with so much chaos. I even forgot to start with an introduction myself. So yeah, I'm Musila Moki. I'm Kenyan. I'm the programs manager at Liberty Sparks Kenya. We also have Idam, who is also our programs associate. We have Evans, who is the executive director and CEO at Liberty Sparks. Probably I should mention that Liberty Sparks began in Tanzania, and we operate across border right now in Tanzania, Uganda, and in Kenya. And Evans happens to be the executive director. Of course, you're going to be meeting him later on in one of our sessions. We also have Naomi Makovo, who is in charge of our communications, and we have Ronnie in charge of learning and research, and Charity, who is in charge of learner engagement. So, of course, I'm going to be, or rather, it's good that I mentioned that for your engagement, if you have any issues, you have any concerns, Charity and Naomi are in charge of managing your community within the WhatsApp group, and those are the people you should reach out to. So I'm going to be asking them after the session to introduce themselves and to tell how best you can reach out to them wherever you have issues, wherever you have concerns, questions. If you might want to be linked to some of the experts that you are going to be having, and so on as we continue with the program. Yes, so that was pretty much what we wanted to, or rather the session that we wanted to have with you today. And I hope that you've gained at least some bits. You can hear me, right? I see some people saying they can't hear me. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Okay, thank you so much, Moki, for your presentation. Of course, we continue to apologize to everyone for the delays that we had on our end. Hopefully this is going to be the very first or the last, because like you also mentioned, that this was the very first time we're having these challenges. And we hear you, especially for those of you who haven't had these sessions on YouTube, you might begin to maybe wonder why we didn't go for the more common channels like YouTube and Zoom and all. But as we continue to maybe progress through it, you'll get to understand that these are sessions that we want to be available online, because there is some residual effect with having these kinds of sessions online, so that not only you people get to be the ones that get to benefit from them, but even for those who missed this session, who want to be part of the program, will be able to benefit from it. So thank you guys for giving us your time. I saw one person who's probably from Kenya mentioned that today is Friday. We try and finish it as soon as possible. So I hope it's 9, whichever local joint you have to go to. I hope they've not taken all the top tables that you need. And thank you so much for giving us your time today. See you guys in the next session. Remember to keep the community live and talk and chat. And we can use today all the way to Monday to introduce ourselves, share one or two things about, ourselves, and get to interact. Thank you guys for today, and see you in the next.